name is Louise Clarke. I'm Deputy Director here in Cavan Institute. We're a further education and training college, and we're based here in the northeast, I suppose, of Ireland. We have 1,000 full-time students who attend college courses here in the Institute. They're typically 1 year in duration, and students have the option in some areas to stay on and do a second year in a vocational related area. We cover courses from music production to sport and recreation to security studies through to business studies, science, so a real wide range of disciplines. And we also have some part-time programs as well. Here in the Institute, I'm responsible for quality assurance of our programmes, for certification of our learners, for links with employers, and also for links with higher education, with a view to helping our students to progress to higher education, to study courses in related areas to those that they've studied here in the Institute. We really try to engage with the local economy, local businesses, local employers on a continuous basis throughout the year. So it's not just sort of link in with them once or twice. It's a sustained relationship that we're trying to build with our local employers. So on each of our programs here in the Institute, students are required to do a work experience placement, and through that work experience placement, their class tutor would be in regular contact with the employer throughout the course of the year to understand what it is the employer needs from the work experience placement, and to ensure that there's maximum benefit for the learner during that work experience placement. We would also take feedback from the employer at the end of the placement, and some of the marks that are awarded to the student in their programme of study would come from the employer and how they found that student to be during their work experience placement. So that's really valuable to us. The feedback that we get from the employer helps us to improve and to develop our courses and to ensure that we're meeting their needs in terms of sending our students out into the workforce. The other thing that we do with employers is we hold regular employer consultation events where we will bring employers from the same sector together about once every 3 to 4 years, and we will have a conversation with them. So each course team will do that, and we will go through them at that time with the entire programme that the student is studying, and we will ask them for feedback on the modules that are being delivered to the learners. We'll also ask them for feedback on any equipment or facilities or resources that they think would be of benefit to add into the programme. And we would also ask them for feedback on areas that should be removed from the course because they're no longer relevant. And that's really, really beneficial to us because it helps us to identify emerging trends in a sector and helps us to ensure that our courses are fit for purpose and that we're planning ahead to ensure that they survive and that the students are in a position to develop their skill set to meet the needs of industry. It's so important in Cavan, the Cavan Monaghan area here that we're based in. We are the only further education college. There is no higher education option available to students locally. They have to travel for access to higher education. So a lot of the students who would come to us would be, about 50% of our students who come to us with a view of securing work placement immediately following completion of their course. And 50% would be looking for progression to higher education. I suppose for our students, we want to ensure that they stay within the region. They're not going outside of the region to secure that work experience placement. So unless we're in constant contact with the employers in the region, the opportunities for those students are minimised, and that's always to the forefront of our mind. So it's of benefit to us and it's of benefit to our employers to stay in touch with them. We have a programme here in the Institute where we have a number of staff who link in or provide, I suppose, a pathway for employers to advertise any vacancies that they have available. So typically in the hospitality sector, we would have a lot of vacancies that would be coming into us from employers, and we would be advertising those directly to our students. So what we actually find is that the students have secured permanent employment before they've even completed their course. Sometimes for us the challenge is actually keeping the student on the course to complete the course, rather than losing them to the employer before they've finished their certification. So there are huge benefits there for the learners in terms of us having those close links with employers. If we didn't have them, we wouldn't have the same rate of progression into employment. And we're also monitored by our national agencies in terms of the number of learners that we send into employment. There's a system in operation now where the learner is tracked through their PPS number. So they're tracked with their PPS number here in the institute, and then they're tracked again by revenue a year later, or by social protection. So the government can tell the value that I suppose they can tell in terms of the value that they have invested in the education of the person, whether that has led to employment for the person or whether that has led to the person remaining within the social protection system. So that in the future is going to determine the level of funding that we receive, whether or not we have actually placed learners in employment or not. And that for us is key, because we won't be able to continue to provide the programmes we provide unless we have the funding associated with us. The challenges are time and resources to us. We don't have a dedicated person to kind of foster those links with industry. We have one member of staff who has a couple of hours over the course of the year to facilitate workshops with employers, but that's simply not enough to kind of maintain the links that we need to have with employers. So time, resources, I know, I suppose, what we achieve with the limited resources that we have, but I have no doubt that the level of engagement that we would have with local employers within the region would be huge if we had the resources and the time to invest in that. I suppose one of the challenges that we find in terms of linking with employers is the time that they have to give to it, and in certain sectors the value that they place on it. So for example, our hospitality employers locally would be hugely invested in linking with ourselves to try and tailor programs. So in particular in the beauty therapy area, they're always looking for therapists or people for spas, they're looking for chefs, they're looking for people in the catering side of things, or for front of house and tourism. So those businesses would be really, really strong in terms of their level of engagement with us, and they see the benefits in terms of the number of learners that we send to them and who secure full-time employment. In other areas, they mightn't just be quite as strong because they're particularly busy. Construction is one at the moment that we're having a challenge with. Those employers are so busy. And they have such a shortage of staff, but their noses are to the grindstone at the moment to try and keep their own show on the road, that they don't have the time to engage with us. And that's a challenge for us at the moment. We're trying to tailor our programmes to meet their needs in the absence maybe of having as deep of a relationship with them as we would like to have. So I think that is a challenge for us, and it's one that we're going to have to try to overcome in another way. What we have done to try and overcome that challenge is we've moved some of our consultation events online with a view, and we've kept them as short as we possibly can to try and encourage people to participate. We had been doing them face to face up until recently, and that was challenging for the employers to try and get into us to do it. So we have noticed an increase in participation since we did that.